Our purpose in life is to seek knowledge every single day, then turn around and pass the torch of knowledge on to someone else. If you want to leave a legacy, seek knowledge and pass the torch. All right, we are on another episode of Pass the Torch podcast. Today we have a treat. We have Dom Faussette. He is a leadership speaker, an executive coach, a best-selling author, a veteran, as well as one of our toughest cops on the street, former police officer. Thank you so much. Dom, thank you for being on Pass the Torch podcast. Welcome.
Thanks for the invite, man. I greatly appreciate that. And, of course, thank you, Oprah, for your service.
Oprah. Absolutely, brother. So the first thing that I always ask any guest is about their history, a little bit about that. I went into it, but absolutely can't do it justice. And then what led you to where you are today and your why for what you're doing today.
All right, so start with the first one, my history. I grew up in Southern California. Barely graduated high school, but I did. The option was to go to college. Didn't happen. Live on the streets or join the military and not live at home. That was my parents' household rule. So at 18, I joined the military. My goal was to go PJ, but failed a swim test, so that didn't happen. Failed a swim test by 7 seconds, so it kind of crushed me a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually crushed me for many years. But I ended up being K-9 in the Air Force. Once I got out of the Air Force, I became a police officer. So I had about a year hiatus. I was in a band for a while, and then I became a police officer because carrying a gun, I was just comfortable. That's what I knew. And I really thought that's all I was going to do for the rest of my life. I had a gun, I was good. And you just came into a line in the sand where I was about 2.5 pounds of trigger pull into taking a guy out. And I didn't. At that moment, I realized this wasn't for me. I had hurt a lot of people physically. And I left law enforcement, and I came back to Arizona. I was a cop in Jackson, Mississippi. And when I came to Arizona, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna revamp my life. Like I have to change things. Like I needed some goals. I needed to make things happen. I was dealing with PTSD, and I currently have Tourette's, and I stutter. But I was like, no matter what like goes on in the head and my heart, etc., I needed to push forward. So that led me into kind of a corporate setting. So I landed a sales job by way of nepotism, aka the hookup, and I just kind of killed it from there. And my goal, where I grew up in the hood, it was if you made 6 figures, like the mindset was if you make 6 figures, life is easy. So I just wanted to make 6 figures. I finally got to that point. Life didn't get easier because it wasn't about the money. It was really about connecting bridging the gap between your mind and your heart. Yeah. So I was corporate for about 14 years, and I recently left. I left in July after my book launched and hit bestseller. I left, and here I am months later on a wonderful podcast with you. I think I covered 2 of the questions in that. I forgot what the third question was.
What's your why for doing this? What inspires you day after day? I think you went into it a little bit, but that keeps you going.
Initially, my why was I used speaking to make up for all the ill that I had done to people as a police officer. Like, I never stole drugs or money, but I was trying to do. And I just felt bad. So for me, just speaking to kids, youth is where I started. That made me feel good. But when I left the schools that I spoke at and I was at home by myself in the dark, like that feeling was quickly gone. So that's what caused me to start speaking. And then I realized as I moved up in the corporate world that so many people are hurting. It can't be fixed through education. It can't be fixed through a Ferrari. It can't be fixed through a Ducati or a private jet. You have to bridge the gap between your mind and your heart. So my focus is creating vulnerable leaders, like understanding that vulnerable leadership, for me anyway, like once I became happy with me, I'm 39, it's happened when I was about 35, 36 to be exact. Once I became happy with me, I was like, I wish everybody could feel this.
Absolutely.
If everybody could just smile all day, like that's my life. I mean, I have some hurts that take place, but that's life. but it just feels good to be me. But it took me 36 years to get to the point of being comfortable with Dom Faussette. So my why is for people to just be comfortable with being vulnerable.
That's huge. That's huge because, especially today, I think people are starting to get more comfortable with it, and then we could even go into just being men who are comfortable with emotions. Apparently that's not allowed, and both of us serve in the military. You also being a police officer, which, you know, on the front lines every single day, like being emotional isn't allowed. But what I've seen, and as I get older, I start to understand that being emotional actually comes from a place of strength.
Oh no, it totally does. Like, you have guys that are in the military, cops, and I'm using my life experience. Everything I did, I thought was tough, but really, I was doing these things out of hurt that I yet to uncover or deal with from my childhood, and being able to just let go of that stuff, like that's tough. Being a man, and then being able to, like, every time I speak, I cry. Like, one day I won't. Until then. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have a conversation with my wife or with my kids and say, hey, Daddy's hurt today. Like, hey, babe, these are my emotions. But I'm in our age group, our fathers, I don't know how old you are, but my father, as long as he, you know, made the money and kept a roof over our head, like, that was considered being a man. There was no crying. There was no like confiding. There was none of that. So nowadays, we grow up in a world where that's not enough.
Right.
You have to be emotional, but not too emotional, because you can catch a charge. But you have to, like, balance how you're going to do this. But a lot of men are confused, and not just that. You have so many women that are trying to fill the king's throne. They want to be a queen, but they also want to prove that they can be a king. You can't have two kings in the same castle. So now the dude's like, I support you, but where do I sit?
Right.
But the moment we can become vulnerable and share that with our spouses and our coworkers and things like that, like, life just becomes so much easier.
That's huge. That's huge, and I'm definitely 100% behind you, and spreading that message, because, the new generation just simply does not see that's where we're getting to. That's the goal to be at. But strength from vulnerability, and I think that's where they're trying to get military leaders. That's why they're trying to get, you know, corporate executives to understand that there's a lot of talk about emotional intelligence. Is that something that you discuss or study in order to get spun up on that, or?
So I've studied emotional intelligence for quite some time, but honestly, I learned more about emotional intelligence in K-9 school.
Wow.
As it really dealing with people. So I stuttered until I was about 21. And being K-9, you get deployed and you're usually by yourself because your partner is your dog. So you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you know, as Overwatch or what have you. And I learned body language from my K-9 Clint. And the body language because we had a lot of conversations. When the sand starts talking to you, bro, like, some people say you're crazy, but, like, you're out there for 15, 16 hours just you and your dog. Like, you're going to have a conversation. But just doing that allowed me to understand people just want to be validated.
Right.
Look at it like this. You have a dog. I see a dog in the background.
Yeah, that's my wife's first love.
Right, exactly. Right? if your dog craps on the floor at 6 in the morning, right before you're about to head to guard mount or head out to work, you're going to be irritated because, like, you know, you got your boots tucked, you got everything's ironed and crisp. You don't want to be like, you're not in a position to bend over and clean anything up, but you do. But when you get home, you don't remember that. The first, like, if your dog greets you, all you see is a wagging tail, a tongue out, which would be an assumed smile, and they jump on you. And you don't care about your uniform and the creases. You're being validated. Like, that dog is validating your existence in that moment. You don't care what they did. But for some reason, when it comes to people, like, yeah, you're married. You're two imperfect people. Your wife is supposed to get under your skin because you two are trying, not you specifically, but we're trying to figure each other out.
Yeah.
But we have the rest of our life to do it. But the moment things don't go our way, get irritated. And then we want to hold a grudge. Then we want to go to bed mad. And then we take that into the workplace. And we're mad at anybody that sounds or acts like our spouse, male or female. We hold on to so many things. because we can't forgive, or we don't acknowledge the fact that it's okay to be vulnerable. Like, you're supposed to get hurt. That's what builds you up.
Right.
We know about it in the gym. You tear down the muscles, they build back up. But for some reason, when we tear down our emotions, we hold on to that for a decade.
Right.
And that breeds like ailments in your body. But back to the emotional intelligence standpoint, I learned more about emotional intelligence in K9 than I did any book. It's very simple.
That's awesome.
Say things to people that you feel that they would want to hear, that are going to uplift them. And this is the reason why. I had an employee one time that came to me, long story short, she was dealing with some domestic violence issues. And it came up because I said, hey, how you doing? She said, oh, I'm fine. And I knew something was off. And let's talk. Let's go off site and let's have a conversation. And every couple days, her husband would take a mini blowtorch to the inside of her thigh. But
wow.
I learned to recognize those cues from my dog, Clint. Like something was off. So I just asked him about it in a very nice way. And if we just go back to what we learned in kindergarten, is do unto others as you would expect them to do unto you. Better yet, do unto others as you learned to do unto them by building relationships with them.
Right. Oh, that's huge. And yeah, the validation, first of all, I talk to my dog too, and I don't even do it for my occupation, so I get you 100%. But what you said, that is profound. Like, people want to be validated, they want to be heard. I was just watching, I think it was Oprah, right? And it was a little clip, and it spoke out to me because she said that when she interviews people, whether it's the president of the United States, Barack Obama, or it was a inmate who just came off of death row, or he was still in prison, she was interviewing him, every single one of them leans over to her and they go, after the interview, they take off whatever mic they have and they go, did you hear me? And that phrase just spoke out to me, like, okay, yeah, people just want to be heard. Did you get value from what I just told you? And if we can recognize that, even with not getting political, but looking at what is going on in the world today around us, even the people you look and you think they don't have anything even closely, relating to me. I just, there's nothing that I can relate to this other person. It's not true, and if you have the conversation, you realize we're not as different, as people would have us to think we are.
I think, and like, I use this very simplified approach when I'm doing corporate speaking, and this is something we all can relate to. You go to a bar, single, you see a young lady that catches your eye. No matter how boring her conversation is, in your brain, you've got end game. Whatever that end game is, it could be a handhold to the car, whatever. But you will sit there patiently, because every guy knows you can't, like, for example, us. I can't go in and say, yeah, I'm a Air Force K9, I'm an ex-cop, I'm an executive coach and leadership speaker, travel the world. Like, I won't even get to first base. But if I just sit there and she could be a librarian, which I've never done it, but it just sounds like a boring job. And she's going to tell me all the insights about her job, because naturally she's going to talk, and I'm going to, have a little bit of swag about the situation. And I'm just listen, because we just know we can't talk and brag. Well, the stuff that we have done that we think is awesome will come out along the way. But for some reason, we don't take that simplified concept that we've all done and apply it to every single person that we come into contact with. We always want to share our story as opposed to just be quiet, build a relationship. In time, your story will come out.
Yeah. No, I love that. Speaking of stories, you being an executive coach and a speaker, how do you do that? How do you prepare for that? And what will you tell to people listening if they're thinking about doing that themselves?
So two different lanes, right? Let's start with the executive coaching. How do you prepare for it? Your life, right? Honesty, integrity, loyalty, and service. That's our life. That's how I was brought up. And coaching, if you want to be a coach, you just have, like, I got certified through the John Maxwell program, but there's a phrase one of my previous directors used with me. She just said, "Be the obvious choice." Right? You can't. I didn't just jump into coaching. I've been servant leading for a long time, and I've been professionally coaching for about 2 years now. But military, that's my background. Law enforcement, my background. All that servant leadership. And as I started speaking in schools, I would have students reach out, and I would just mentor them throughout the process, or guys and gals fresh out of college, I would mentor them. And I didn't, charge them anything. I never knew anything about coaching because I was focusing on speaking. And I went to a conference, and they're like, "Hey, you want to get certified as a coach?" I'm like, "Okay, this is pretty legit." But there's a lot of branding that also goes into that. I mean, I've spent a lot of money over the last year just on branding alone. I currently have a PR, which allows me to get on the news. I travel and speak. I have a speaker's agent. That costs. I have a branding coach. That costs. I have a photographer, a videographer, and I have a book. That costs. All of that led into really being dialed in on speaking. I love speaking.
Wow.
Now, as a speaker, a lot of people say they're speakers, but they've never been on stage to speak. I've heard people say, "I really want to speak." Well, okay, have you spoken before? No. So you don't really, like, when you really want to eat, what do? You eat. Right? Yeah. So if you really wanted to speak, you would have done it prior to contacting me. Yeah. And you have to have fire if you're going to get on stage and speak. But I started off with Toastmasters. Every city and country in the world has a Toastmasters group.
Absolutely.
And I started with Toastmasters, and I did the speaking competitions, and I realized, oh, shoot, I'm pretty good. I got a message. And then I got really dialed in on who Dom Faussette was. I had always been driving towards who people thought I needed to be, and especially being a black man in the corporate world, I had molded myself to fit what I thought the corporate world needed from me based off my skin color. And then I had a VP say, "Dom, I like your speaking, but you come off too crisp and too serious. And people can't relate to you being so perfect in your approach." So when he told me that, I was like, wow, like I could really just be me. Like I could be Dom Faussette. He gave me permission to be me. And I took it from there. And I just started speaking different places, and then social media, because I haven't been on social media for about two years, give or take. Videos. Like if you say you're a speaker, you should have some videos of you speaking. And I don't care if you just take out your phone, you grab a little selfie stick, open the little tripod thing, and put it down, put your phone in here, and record yourself speaking.
Yeah.
Video of you speaking. It shows a positional authority or authority positioning as it relates to what it is you're doing. Like if you look at my first video, and I don't know where it's at, speaking, it was garbage, like super garbage. It was muffled. You would have thought it was from 1982. Like, how did this dude travel back in time? But my speaking videos now are professionally done.
Absolutely.
But I've been speaking for over a decade, speaking for free for over a decade. And for those of you that really want to get serious about speaking, like I have a speaker's agent. This is what I found out last year. I thought I was hot last year. Like I thought I was super hot. So I reached out to a speaker's agent, 2 of them. They turned me down. The last one said, as it relates to agents, you don't find us, we find you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's feedback. It stung a little bit. I'm not even going to front. I'm like, okay, so then I finished my book. I got a podcast. I hired a branding coach. Like, my website looks legit. ThinkReactLead.com. My Instagram looks legit. My Facebook looks legit. My Twitter, everything that I post out there is the exact same thing. Like, there's nothing in there that says, okay, at a minimum, people are going to say, probably like a motivational guy. Because that's what I do. I don't post politics. I don't post race. I don't post cop stuff. I don't post my political views, because I don't care about all that. At the end of the day, you take that away, you still hurt.
Yep. And
I'm just trying to tap into your heart and bridge the gap between your mind and your heart. So if you are serious about speaking, then speak. If you go to church, speak in a children's church. Start at a high school. Start in kindergarten. Go to a kindergarten class and read a book to the kindergarten kids. Right? Like, you can't just jump into the corporate world. Like, you can't just jump on stage with Eric Thomas. You can't just jump on stage with all these who's. But now I get, hey, Dom, can you come to San Diego and speak? Can you come over here and speak? Of course I can.
Yeah.
And don't be upset if you do it for free. I still speak for free, depending upon how large the audience is. You got to look at it as, you have to look at yourself as a brand, like Coca-Cola, like Tide, like Sprite, like BMW, like Ducati. You have to look at yourself as a brand. And when you post stuff on social media, ask yourself, 10 years from now, am I going to be cool with this post?
100%.
In a nutshell.
No, and you broke it down, because a lot of people probably, they're like, oh, leadership speaker, executive coach. I like how you said those are two different things. Those are two different lanes, and a lot of people try to lump it in together. So very.
But they only do that because they look at social media and they think they have to do. I'm not gonna lie, I'm 39, like I said. When I jumped into social media at 36 and a half, man, I did not know what I was doing. I was like, this is too much. I got posts and stuff and Facebook. Man, I was done. I couldn't figure it out.
You're doing great. That's my feedback. I think you're doing great.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you. It means a lot coming from the devil dog. And for those of you that don't know, a devil dog is something that other military guys.
It's a good thing.
Call Marines. If you're not a Marine, if you're not in the military, probably don't want to do that. But anyways,
what?
it's just stay in your lane. Do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And the best feedback I got Q3 of last year was stop listening to everybody. Because I was listening to 3 different mentors. I had 2 different coaches, people that I thought were successful online telling me what to do, and I meet them in person and they're really not. Just listen to 1 or 2 people.
Boom.
So if you want to be a speaker, get mentored or coached by 1 speaker. If you want to be a coach, get mentored or coached. Coaching is cost by 1 coach, and stick to it. And for those people that like to read a lot of books, like a book a month, let's be real, you're not implementing anything. I would suggest, real talk, if you read 12 books in a year and implemented everything,
you'd be oversaturated.
Right. Pick 3 books. 3 books. Read them 3 times in 1 year. Implement everything in those books. Because remember, you're not in it just for 2018. You're in it for the rest of your life, I hope. That's what you're passionate about. And think of it that way. Read 3 books a year, 3 times each, for the rest of your life. If you're 20, by the time you're 30, that's 30 books. Read 90 times. And implementation. Multi-millionaire. Done.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, a lot of people oversaturate themselves with too much information. I'll tell you right now, the goals that I had for Mentorch, I looked at 2017 goals. I was like, man, I had a lot on here. I sat down with my wife, because we actually run the company together, and we're like, look, and I'll even take a picture of the board and post it on Instagram. But we have very few things for Q2, and we were just like, all right, this is what we're doing, and we're gonna do this aggressively, and that's it, and we're gonna achieve it. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, right?
Keep it simple. You guys like us, we're taught to be dialed in.
Right.
One objective. Conquer that objective and move forward.
There it is.
Totally makes sense.
And all you need is go for the Marine, story, but you need a foothold. Okay. They didn't. Iwo Jima wasn't. Some people might get all offended, but Iwo Jima wasn't taken, in one shot. It took. You had to get one part of the beach, and you had to continue to fight, and from there, that one foothold, that one infantry squad, it was taken from there. So that's just baby steps. How do you eat an elephant? Okay, one piece at a time. So all these cliches, they have like a certain amount of truth to it.
Out there, implement them.
Absolutely.
One thing I would suggest to anybody that's listening to this is you really got to become one with self. Like I coach. Like I left my full-time job. I was making good money. Still have a good life. Excuse me. But the 3 days after I left, my mom is in a coma. My dog had cancer, and then a month after that, my buddy my wife's best friend, because him and his girl ride Ducatis, we ride, so we rode together, and we would go to World Superbike events together. He died in a motorcycle accident.
Wow.
Like, if I wasn't passionate about what I do, that would have crushed me. Last week, or the week before last, one of my wife's coworkers and a guy I've ridden with before, 4-month-old child, died in a motorcycle accident. Messed me up, and I'm just like, man, you're gonna get kicked in the teeth, and you can't run out of the ring because your teeth are loose and your jaw is broke. Like, you gotta stay in the ring, suck it up, put your fist up, and just start fighting. Like, life is going to hit you hard, especially when you get to a point of pushing towards your purpose. Like, it's weird how you push towards your purpose and you remove all obstacles. Your path is clear, obstacles start popping up. Like, you start arguing with your spouse, or your mom gets sick, or your kids get sick, or, you start losing loved ones, or clients start falling off. Things, your bank account starts looking funny. Like, things just start happening.
Yep.
Not passionate about it. Like, that's what separates the men from the boys.
That's it. Nah, and you talked to, you have things in your life that are definitely have been hard and they've been obstacles, but it seems like, and I feel like I'm the same way to a certain degree. Like, when there's pain, or even go as far to say there's things that are suffering, it seems to, like, I don't know, jolt you and motivate you and say, you know what, like, because this is a reality people need to understand. Life is about pain. Like, you're going to experience. So the faster you understand that and you embrace it and you just say, I'm gonna make it happen regardless, you start actually being able to use that and harness it. I think it's probably the right word, and continue to drive on and move forward. And that's the people who, they feel it and they shrivel up and they just stop. Those are the ones that stagnate and wither and don't realize their true potential. Because a lot of those people, they're awesome people, they're smart people, they have a lot of potential, but they will never realize it because they just stop too short.
And I think the more, like, what helped me is understanding, like, people hurt more than I did. Yes, did I lose my best friend? I did. But what I didn't lose my child that night. I didn't lose my spouse that night, right? Like, there's people that deal with a different type of hurt that is worse than yours, right? There's just so many other things that could have happened. And my dad, not the most emotional dude, now he is, but like, yo, people come, people go. Like, babies are born and people die. That's the world we're in. And when my mom was in the hospital, and I was saving her text messages, and I did a 60 seconds to success video on my Instagram.
I saw it.
But yeah, so when she was like, son, you got to be positive in everything that you say. Stop saving my text messages that I send you. Stop saving my voicemails. I'm going to get through this, but you can't get sad or upset because you think I'm about to die. Mm-hmm. Like, this has nothing to do with you. Even if I do, you still have a mission. I'm like, okay, well, both my parents are military, so they're a little tough. But it's the same thing. Like, when you're downrange and, your buddy gets killed, sad, deal with that sadness later. You still have to engage because you have a mission. Same thing in the entrepreneurial world, or even in the corporate world, any world you're in. You can't you can't go through life thinking that you're never going to get sad and nothing's going to happen. Like, how dare you even think that? You better take those rose-colored glasses on and put on some NVGs and just go through the night vision goggles and go through the darkness and just engage. It's that simple.
That's it. It was an email sign off, and you had it coming back in my head. Is email sign off I always put stay in the fight, and I think a lot of people associated that, especially my military friends and the people who would read those emails. They'd be like, oh, he's probably referring to the military fight. I was to a certain degree, but also like something that I talked to one of my good friends, Marie Straka, on one of the previous podcasts about depression, anxiety, and of course that's something that's going to be prevalent in the police force, first responders, military, and anyone living that every day. The wife who can't communicate with her husband, or the husband who can't communicate with their wife. It's the same thing, but I put stay in the fight as a reminder, not only for everyone around me, but for me too, because that's something that even, I struggle with, and I'm becoming more comfortable being open with that, with having depression, anxiety, and especially if you're in the military, people are like, "Whoa, no, you don't have to watch out for me because I'm gonna stay in the fight," and I love that you speak to that, you exude it. I looked at that 60 seconds of success, and I love what you're doing with that, and it's insane, and just it's a tactical pause. I always talk like when you do the I don't know if they do it in the Air Force, the safety briefs, like at the end on a Friday, and you get all the airmen around or the Marines around, and you're like, hey, look, take that tactical pause, okay? And that's what 60 seconds of success reminds me of. Like, honestly, it's a tactical pause for the soul. Like, someone out there, and this is me to you, I think that they're going to see that, and that's going to be 60 seconds that snaps them back to and that's all you need. That's honestly sometimes all people need. If they don't get that, then they they shrivel up into themselves. But if they get that 60, I hope to God, I pray that more people are going to be exposed to what you're doing. This is why I wanted you on the podcast, because I'm going to share it with my audience, and they see this and they start, oh, I didn't know who Dom Faussette was, but now I do, and now I'm going to follow him and see that it's that tactical pause for the soul. It's that 60 seconds of success where they can say, oh, I didn't think about it that way, or wow, like Dom's been through some stuff, and I can follow him. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I love that, and I'm gonna make sure I continue to share that. But it speaks well, man. Like that, it's deep, and it hits the right tone.
Nice, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Continues.
Absolutely. And it's staying in the fight. Like, so you've spoke, you've been an executive coach. Then what inspired you to put it in book form? Because you talked about the 3 books, and now I hope one of these books is going to be Dom Faussette that you're reading for the rest of your life 3 times a year. Tell us a little bit about what led you on the path there in that journey.
Think, react, lead when success and accomplishments aren't enough. We hear the word success, and to the untrained ear, which is the majority of the people out there, we automatically envision money.
Yeah.
But success, like, it's a feeling, and I'm going to say this, it's not bragging. I'm saying it to drive a point home. My wife and I are not millionaires, but we do well. We both own Ducatis. We both ride Ducatis. We track them.
Yeah.
He has a BMW M5. I got a lifted platinum Toyota Tundra. We hit the lake. We go snowboarding. Like, in 2 weeks, we're headed to St. Thomas for 6 or 7 days. But when my buddies died, none of that mattered, bro. Like, that messed me up. When my boy Tony died, my best friend, like we're so, like, nobody rides our bikes. When my wife and I got married, him and his girl rode our bikes home.
Wow.
And we left to Bora Bora. So that's, like, we don't trust any, but they were that close to us. And when he died, the day he died, 12 hours later, my BMW M5 was delivered. It meant nothing to me. I felt nothing. I was depressed. I was angry. I was crying, and nothing monetarily, no tangible item could fix that. And I still deal with that hurt today. These things don't fix nightmares. Things don't fix when you wake up thinking somebody's in your house and your training kicks in. Nothing fixes that. No thing, I should say. So when success and accomplishments aren't enough, see, as most people, we have this, I call it a big red boat. What is that thing that you want that's going to allow you to say, I've arrived? For me, it was my Ducati. Then it was, a house, or was this, a vacation? No. But I'm past that point. I mean, do I want a Rolls Royce Spray? Of course I do. They look very nice. So, of course I look less. Of course I do. They look wonderful. They're super fast. Yeah. But I also want to be in a position that if something ever happened and I lost everything, I'd be okay. And I learned that from my dad. My dad hit his millions late in life, but he lost everything. 911 turbo, Hummer, S65, or S55 at the time, E55. Super huge house. It was like 5,000 square feet, single story, everything. He barely graduated high school. Lost it. And then he gained it back. But I was like, what? One day he was like, he had a hobby. His hobby is HO scale trains. He said, you know what? I can lose everything. I've got my wife. I've got my kids. I've got my health. I got it once. I'll get it again. And we should be able to think that way. Like my focus isn't money. My focus honestly is a million impressions, positive impressions on people's lives. I want to help people that are hurting so much and they don't know how to get out of it. And I can share. Unfortunately, I've been through a lot of crap. Some of it just my own lack of reasoning and rationale. But if you can get to a point of being happy with just who you are, bare bones, no money, nothing, that's so much greater.
Yeah.
Buying things and owning things. That's just something else to do. But be so comfortable with self that even when people do offend you, you're able to see it from a standpoint of, you know what, hurt people. And that's probably why they said the things that they said to me.
That's it.
Yeah, man. It's all about understanding that people hurt more than you do. And
it's huge.
Get over your just get off your high horse, not you, but people just.
Yeah. No.
It's okay to hurt, and just tell somebody. Like, don't post it all on social media, but find somebody you can confide in and just say, yo, man, like, I hurt. And if you cry in your room by yourself, like I've done it several times.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think anxiety was for girls until one day I go serving a warrant and my body locked up. Mm-hmm. My heart started aching. I started sweating, and then I had this pain, like needles started coming out of my body. And I'm looking at my partner. He's like, yo, what's wrong with you? Like, we are literally 7 feet in front of this cat's door. What are you doing? I couldn't. My hands started shaking. And hindsight, I realized that was anxiety. And I was like, yo, what? I had to change my diet. Like, There's just a lot of things I had to change. And Absolutely. You know what I started doing? I started going to the firing range more. Because what it was, I was depending on training that I received months ago on whether or not I'm going to have to engage and kill somebody. So I said, you know what? I'm a little uncomfortable with the gun, and I'm a cop. So I started going to the firing range twice a week. And then it got to a point where, like, I'm kicking in doors like it's nobody's business because I'm comfortable with my Glock 26 and 19. Mm-hmm. So training, like, you just got to train the body. And I hate to say it, but it's literally mind, body, and spirit have to be aligned.
Oh, I love that. We're getting into the mentor-mentee spotlight. So curious, if you had your dream mentor, who would it be, and what would that relationship look like to you?
A dream mentor is just somebody who, like, for me, honestly, everybody's my mentor.
Yeah. Because
I thrive on people's backstories. Mm-hmm. I thrive on their pain. Not because I don't wallow in it with them, but literally, if you tell me what your pains are, it lets me know that I don't have a reason to be upset about my life because I just heard your story. And when I hear somebody's story, it encourages me. So I leave myself open to be mentored by everybody. I don't think because you're 12 that I can't learn from you. I think mentorship is all about receiving the learnings of somebody else as they're teaching you just through having a conversation. But the only way that can happen is if we listen.
Right.
So one can say, some rich person, a president, somebody successful, but they're so far, more oftentimes than not, they're so far removed from the hurt that they've experienced because they dealt with it 10, 20 years ago, that they don't really tell the story. They're not going to share their story with me from a standpoint of I'm still hurting. They're going to share their story with me of, 20 years ago I was abused, molested, and I've gotten over it. And, they're just kind of jovial, just nonchalant, as opposed to somebody who just is recognizing at the age of 30 why they're having nightmares. And now, because they're getting in tune and dialed in with who they are, their brain can recall and their heart can recall the pain that took place when they were 7. and now they can share that story. So now we're having this conversation, and that to me is mentorship.
Wow. So that goes into someone sees you, which I know that I'm just speaking the truth. There's a lot of people out there who are probably like, oh my God, Dom Faussette is amazing. And understanding you have limited time, but if someone was lucky enough to be able to be mentored by you one-on-one, how would they get your attention, and you know, what would be your expectations for that relationship?
Just direct message me,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people do, but I always answer with a question. And believe it or not, like 90% of the people don't answer the question. Like if somebody texts me and says, "Hey Dom, I see you're speaking. I've always wanted to be a speaker. I want to see if I can, I can talk to you." Well, talk to me for free? You're taking money out of my child's mouth.
No.
You're taking time away from me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So I charge for coaching. That's why I ask 4 or 5 questions,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have a lot of free time. At the end of the day, my love for my wife and my relationship with my wife is number one. It just so happens I also have a business.
100%.
As a business person, I'm here to make money. Now, I will answer one's questions via text, right?
Yeah.
But Mike, if you ask me a question, I'm going to ask you 4 or 5 questions, and I will not talk to you until you've answered them. Because what a lot of people want information, and they don't do jack with it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything with the information. All right, cool. I'm going to ask you questions. A real coach will ask questions, because I can't give you an answer. My answers come from my life experience. The odds of you being K9, beat as a kid, ex-cop with some mental issues, and a coach, the odds of you having that backstory, slim none, and slim left town. Right. So if you're going to reach out to me, like, understand I'm very direct, because I don't have time to fluff. Like, your life, your passion, your energy is way more important than your little feelings. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be very direct with you. And I'm not for everybody. I get it. And if you can't answer my questions or do the homework that I give you, because I know what it takes, I'm not going to give you everything in one conversation. I'm going to give you bits and pieces, because that's what people did to me, and it got me to where I'm at. If somebody would have told me 5 years ago, "Hey Dom, you're going to have a podcast, you're going to have a book, you're going to have 5,000 plus followers on Instagram, you're going to be doing Facebook Live all up on Facebook and Twitter, and you're going to be on the news, you're going to have a PR, you're going to be spending thousands of dollars a month on coaches, and you're going to be traveling the world, and you're going to have a you're going to just be living that life." Somebody would have told me that 5 years ago, I'd have said, "Billy, that's a lot of work."
That is.
Like, it's a lot of work to do what you and I do. A whole lot of work. And I don't think people understand, because they're not willing to put the money. I emptied my 401k to grow my business. That's how serious I was with it. So when I dropped that kind of coin, believe you me, I'm going to charge you to spend 30 minutes with me.
Yeah.
That's just how it lets me know you're serious. But you don't want to pay because you got the money, you got cable, you got Jordans, you got guns. Like, you drive all over the place, you taking girls out on dates, you have money, you just don't find spending it on coaching important. Don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Because you've been wasting yours for so long. My life is way more than what you see on Instagram. It's not about the Ducatis, the boats, the flights, and the racetracks. It ain't about all that. Like, it's work. Mm-hmm. You don't see me getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, talking to people overseas. Like, these are things you don't see. And to do all of that and still have an awesome relationship with my spouse, nah, bro, you're not getting me for free.
That's it.
I mean, that's just, guys like us, we have too much content. Like, people always come and talk, they'll probably do this to you. "Hey, man, I really like what you do. You're in the Marine Corps. I've been thinking about going to the Marine Corps. You gotta," look, man, you got commercials. Hit up YouTube. Like, why do you have a podcast? So that's their free content. Why do I have a book? It's $6 on Amazon. And I don't know why they lowered the price. It was $19. I don't know what happened. But you know what? I'm not going to fix that, because I'm not getting rich off a book. I got a podcast. It's free. I got a YouTube channel. Think React Lead is free. I have Instagram. All my stuff is positive. All my comments are life experiences. It's free. That's free. Everything else costs. My consultations are $97. You're not wasting my time. I'll give it back to you if you sign up as a coaching, but my coaching costs are close to $1,500 a month. I
There it
work
is.
too hard to give away, like to give you something, and you're not going to take away from. Now, I do have about 5 or 6 people in my life that I coach for free,
Mm-hmm.
but they travel with me when, like, they're my photographer, my videographer. Like I see how hungry they are,
Absolutely.
and they put in the work, and it works out that way. And most coaches have a couple people in their life that they're like, yo, I see something in you.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to get to where I'm at, but at the age of 29, not 39. But I mean, again, I'm a nice guy, so when you hit me up, you can direct message me. You can text me 602-481-0650. You might not like the answer.
Oh, snap. No, you're absolutely right. Because, yeah, your time, look, a car, Ducati, I don't know how much they cost. I'm not at that level yet. But a house, all these things, they cost money. And time, you can't buy. You can't buy time. You just can't. The only thing you can do is manage it. And you know, to answer your question, I'm 28 years old. And
Okay.
yeah, so I'm like, man, coming to that realization, I am, especially in 2018, with my time, I'm very, very particular about it. And if I feel like something's gonna waste my time, I'm saying no.
Right.
I used to feel bad about telling
You
people no.
do. It's horrible. I used to feel horrible. And I don't know how often you get hit up by network marketers, but I get hit up by them all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's got to a point I'm like, yo, if it's not Think React Lead, I'm not with it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not Think React Lead, don't talk to me about it. No, I'm not meeting you for coffee. And I already know that I would be a great fit for your organization.
Oh.
I'm the obvious choice.
Right.
Of course, it would be a great fit. I spent $60-something thousand on my brand.
That's
you
it.
darn right I'm gonna be a great fit. But I'm a great fit for Think React Lead, and I'm trying to make impressions on people's lives that are hurting. I'm not trying to sell your phone services or your little vitamins. Not knocking the vitamins or the phone services. That's not my thing. But I had to learn. Give me coffee appointment. How many times have you been to Starbucks? And somebody wasting your time?
A few times.
Right, probably more than that. But it happens. Like,
Yeah.
man, this dude's offering nothing in this conversation.
Yeah.
It's just one of. I mean, it's the world we live in, and the good thing, like guys like us, it's easier for us to be pretty assertive because people expect it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. It was hard at first to say no, but now we're at a point where, like, look, man, I'd rather have dinner with my wife. Hopefully, you can understand.
Definitely.
Because you do a lot, man. I saw when you started this Mentorch podcast, and people don't really know how much goes into doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. Like, you really gotta psych yourself up sometimes. What happens? You just have an argument with your wife about something stupid, and now you got to jump on a podcast at 5 o'clock. Like, people don't see that. You can't come on angry. Like,
that's hilarious. You said that, man. Hey, we did a video. We shot a video before this, doing the same thing. We had a dance party, so you're absolutely right. Man, you're a mind reader too.
Right? It's like people don't understand like what goes into what you do. And I don't even think really people value everything you bring to the table. Like, you're a Marine. You could easily stop at that. But no, because you're a Marine, you do something else. You want to add value. People don't understand like the value you and your company and what you and your wife bring to social media and how you connect with people. Like, they don't understand the time and the energy. Like, just getting emotionally and mentally dialed in for you, like, that's not easy all of the time.
Right. But
you have to do it. And that takes energy, which you can't, like, once it's expelled, you don't get that back.
Right.
Like,
time and energy. That's humbling that you say that.
I appreciate what you do. Wholeheartedly.
I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. Going into, first of all, I'm going to be pushing Think React Lead. And I'll talk offline more about that. But, man, like, yeah, no, 100%. Like, you were just fire hosing the value out there. So, look, exactly what he said. Like, he's talking about his time. Dom puts this content out there on Instagram, on thinkleadreact.com. He wrote a book that you can take every single night to bed before you go to bed, because I read before I go to sleep, and you can digest that. And as you're going to sleep, subconsciously your brain is getting that message. So yeah, I mean, part of Dom's business is executive coaching, and he speaks. So understanding that, he has a bunch of free content out there that no no shit, you can get mentored by him just by listening to that. And it's, again, I said it's free. And then on top of that, if you want to take it the next level, then yeah, you pay it. But you're, again, what you're saying, and what I think people need to understand, because some people are like, well, what do you just say? I have to pay for. He's giving you immense value. If you're paying, you don't understand what you're getting out of that. You're getting one-on-one relationships and knowledge straight from the man himself. Like, there you go. And you,
if you're looking for a coach, it doesn't have to be me, but you want to find somebody who's not like you.
right.
Like, if you're a black male, don't find a black male coach because your life experiences, for the most part, are the same. If you're a veteran, don't have a veteran coach. If you are a Caucasian female, don't find a Caucasian female coach. Your life experiences are typically the same, give or take a couple M&Ms.
Yeah.
But you need to find somebody who's different than you. One of my coaches was an Australian lady in Australia. Another one of my coaches is my current coach, an Italian dude out of Jersey. We have nothing in common, and he's not even a speaker. He's a branding guy, but he helps. I look at their Rolodex, like who are they connected to? Because I tell my clients, you're not just paying for my coaching. You're not paying for the fact that I went with no degree from $15 an hour to six figures. You're paying for the people I have access to. In April, I'm gonna be sharing a stage with a dude who's a mindset coach for NASA.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's I don't even know what to say now. I don't put my little book away. I have nothing compared to that. But you're paying for you're not paying for my time. You're paying for my attention.
100%.
So that's just that's how that works. And Think React Lead, it came from think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead. Think React Lead is what I embody. It's a lifestyle.
I love it. Speaking of lifestyle, what do you use in your everyday life that keeps you on track, that keeps you organized and just ready to be successful, that sets you up for success?
Bro, I am not organized.
Well, there you go. That's good.
0500 entrepreneurs. You know what? I use my passion. I didn't go to college, so I'm not that smart. But I'm wise.
Yeah.
And I'm in touch with who I am. There are literally days where it could be noon, and I sit in the bathtub for an hour just to relax. Mm-hmm. I recently learned to do that. There might be days that I get up, I knock out, and I create a list of stuff on this whiteboard that I've got. And I get through half of it, and my ADD kicks in, and I go mountain biking. Because I'm in Arizona, it's 75 degrees today.
Nice. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't have.
It's 6 degrees here.
Structure, but it's what?
Yeah, it's cold as hell.
Yep. Nope. I'm not one of those structured dudes. I go with my intuition, but military and law enforcement taught me how to engage my intuition. And there's days that I get up at 3 o'clock because for some reason my body wakes up like an idiot at that time. But I'm up, I get up, and I start working. And I don't go to bed till 11 o'clock. My life isn't easy. The other day, I was like, you know what? Call some guys. Hey, man, let's just go to the lake. I'm tired of working. Let's get on the boat and just chill. And that's what we did for 3 hours. So I'm not going to say know your body because when I started this journey, I got up at 4 a.m. every morning. And I was in the gym by 5. And I read, so one of the things I do daily is pray. I'm a Christian, and without God, I wouldn't be where I'm at because
Same.
my sister says, you're not wrapped too tight. I know, you got to be crazy to do all this stuff. But a year and a half later, here I am. It just works.
Yep.
You got to read a book, read it over again, listen to one person. Start there, one foot in front of the other. So one thing I do to guarantee that I have some sort of success, at least that feeling of success at the end of the day, is I write stuff down. If it comes to my head, I don't put it in my phone. I write it on a board, and I look at that board. And every time I complete one task, I get up, I grab my little eraser, and I wipe it off. Because what that does from a psychological standpoint, I literally had 15 things on my board today. From a psychological standpoint, when you check off, or not check, but erase number 15, you feel accomplished. You're like, I got a win in. I'm good. You get to number 14, you do it, erase. I put stuff in there like walk the dog, make a Call Australia. Like, what I have message Australia, cancel a Facebook group, contact my internet provider, do a Facebook Live, 5 p.m. Mentorch podcast, which is here. Pick up a dirt bike from Chris. Contact, email, reply to an email, schedule a class, update my voice. Like, and I had a bunch of other stuff, but I erased them because I accomplished them. So go into whatever you're going to do for life. Mm-hmm. If you look at it for the next, from a standpoint of what am I going to do for the next 60 years? One thing at a time, each day. Like a handful of things each day. It'll be a win for your heart. Like, it just feels good to erase stuff off your board or out of your pamphlet. Don't use your phone because if you do everything, this is a distraction. This is a distraction. Shut it down. Get to work. And if you have a job, like I was making money with clients while I was W-2ing. Mm. So if you're a W-2 employee, start a business. Like get my book. It's $5, right? Or $6. You buying my book isn't going to make me rich. So I'm not trying to sell my book.
Get it.
Get it. In the back of my book, there's 7 steps to vision success. And it's a little workbook in the back. And I also have, I did a seminar. It's $24.95, and it's 7 steps. Think, react, lead. Just DM me. I'll get you the information. Definitely. But it's a video that matches this, and I'll send you the what do they call that thing? Where the PowerPoint that goes with it. Mm-hmm. Like there's I was driving a Hyundai Accent 10 years ago. Like with 100,000 miles on it, living in a studio apartment, because I could see the front door and the back door at the same time, with a Glock next to my bed every single night I went to bed, living in fear, single, I was a jerk. Like, I was horrible. I hated my Hyundai, by the way. Not knocking Hyundai. It wasn't I was too old to be in a Hyundai.
Yeah.
It was, when I was your age, that's what I was doing. Because you're like, yo, this cat, like I had no dreams. And then one day I woke up, and I filled my studio with white paper, and I just started writing. Like, I've gone through 5 business names to get to Think, React, Lead. I just started writing, and just, I was literally doing conferences in my studio apartment by myself. Like, I was doing conferences, like I saw myself on stage with everybody, like with people like Diddy in the audience.
I love it.
Like, that's what I did. Like, I was hungry. And that's what you have to do. Yep. And I never let anybody in my house because it was just this. It was a little space like this. And then I got real dialed in, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna do it. I just started, one foot in front of the other, just hungry. Get off work, come home, drink your Red Bull. Don't judge me. It may not be good for you. It was good for me at the moment. It got me to where I'm at. And I would just start writing, and I was reading. But one thing I didn't do, I didn't listen to podcasts. Like, I didn't, and I have a podcast. You guys have a podcast. I'm not knocking podcasts, but like, I needed to be in my own space. Mm-hmm. I needed to get my gut on paper, and I didn't want to be like because I worked a lot of hours and I was doing the corporate thing. Right. Like, I didn't want any extra external motivating factors to dictate what I'm putting on paper. Right. Then I got to a point where I'm comfortable with myself. Then I start listening to podcasts. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do a podcast. I'm gonna write a book. But it's one thing at a time. Like, you just, I don't know. And I hate to use the Les Brown thing, but like, you just have to be hungry. Mm-hmm. Like, you just, I keep a shovel on the side of in my office, and the wood's smooth now, but I use a shovel my dad made me use a shovel when I was like 7, all on. And that's the only tool we had, that and a lawnmower. And he was like, this is your edger. You could use this to pick up poop. You use this to sweep up grass. You use this to dig holes in the backyard. I use that shovel for everything. And I still keep it in my office. It's rusted. It's orange. I think he acquired it from the military installation, March Air Force Base, when he was there. I'm pretty certain that's where it came from. But, because it's got the U.S. government on it. Shovel. But it lets me know that that shovel's one tool, but it does so much. Yeah. We are one tool, but we can do so much. You don't know what your body and mind can do until you start dialing yourself in on the one thing you're called to do. That's it. Or purposed to do. And then things just start lining up.
Dang. Man, y'all getting this for free too. That's
people pay money to hear me speak.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, here we go. That's awesome. That is just amazing. we are able to, if we can tap into what's inside, like you don't know what you're capable of, and that's the thing. I could quote the Marianne Williamson quote from Coach Carter. You know, people are scared to shine their light. You know, and that's like, I think of, I'm butchering it. I'll have to look it up. But the first person to run a 4-minute mile, it wasn't possible.
Oh yeah.
You know, until he did it, and then after that, apparently everybody started running 4-minute miles.
Right.
All of a sudden, your mind and your mind caught up with your body, and people now think it's possible. So I can only imagine if people would cultivate that mindset, if they would listen to what you have to say and then do it, because that's the biggest thing. Like, think it, but do what you did. You're in your house, you know, practicing conferences, and then you did it. You really, what you did, you had a vision, and then you literally manifested it into reality, which is huge.
I had non-negotiables. Like, I've never drank, I've never smoked,
Wow.
I've never done drugs. Like, I'm off in my head on my own. Like, I don't need any assistance with that.
No.
I didn't date. I don't watch the news. I didn't even own a television. Like, my non-negotiables were, I get off work, I go home, I get into the lab, and I empty my stomach, my intuition, my heart on paper. Like, so many of us, unfortunately, we all go into 2018, my goals. Bro, what, not you, but what, your audience, what are your non-negotiables?
Right.
Even when you go into a relationship, like when I first met my wife, like I had non-negotiables. She said, I was like, you have to have a master's. She's like, you're not even educated. It's my non-negotiable. Like that was, I'm looking at it for future. Like, somebody got to be educated. I wrote things down. Like, I had non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiables, like I got to a point where I was so crystal clear, and I didn't, like a boxer, like I said, look, no sex before marriage. Like, I need to know you, because if you trip 5 years from now, I don't want it to be because I didn't see it. Because I was caught up in the woo-woo, as they said in the 70s. Yeah. Right, like, I don't hang out with people that aren't talking about anything. Like, there's hanging out with, not you, someone who's not on my level, for what?
Yep.
Unless we're friends. Like, I have friends. At this point, I have associates. Every now and then I get a friend, but you need, not you, talking to the audience.
No, absolutely.
Non-negotiables
Me
in
too.
your life.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Like, you need, for every one goal you have, you need 5 non-negotiables. If you want, my first motorcycle was a Ducati 1199. My non-negotiable was, I will never own a motorcycle until I own a Ducati, because I want to experience a feeling on an Italian bike before I ride anything else. That was a non-negotiable for me.
And it happened.
It took 36 and a half years.
It happened.
I mean, it did. I didn't need one at your age. I would have killed myself. But we need for every one goal 5 non-negotiables. And set precedence, because you are important. Like, talking to your audience again. I mean, you're important too, bro. But you are so important. Just look at how you were birthed. You made it through all that sperm, and you made it. Like, you made it out. Like, you're important. You live, majority of our audience, I'm assuming, lives in the United States of America. Like, you could have been birthed and lived in any other world, and I've traveled all over the world. I'm telling you, this is kind of one of the hottest spots to be in right now.
It is.
But you're here, and you're listening to this podcast. That tells me that you are hungry for more.
That's it.
What are you going to do about it? Listen to this podcast, so something in you is burning, and you're like, I got to get on the Mentorch. I got to listen to this Marine. Like, I need to see what he's doing. You're hungry. Like, I know you have an appetite, but what are you doing to whet it? Don't let this motivate you. I just did a post. The reason on Instagram, your need or desire for external motivation is your main reason for not getting results. What did Cat Williams say? It's self-esteem. It's esteem of self, and he made it colorful. But you got to esteem yourself. And in the moments that you don't feel like you want to do it anyway. Dig deep. Go hard. If you got to throw in some rock, some gangster rap, whatever some country, whatever, whatever you got to do to just amp yourself up, do it. Don't just listen to this podcast and then do nothing with it. Hit me up. I'm sorry. Contact me on Instagram. Direct message. Sometimes it just comes out.
the PC.
My bad, man. I didn't mean to go on.
No, I'm listening. It's funny because every time I interview people, I interview you, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is for my audience. That's kind of BS because I'm sitting here, I'm getting a lot of value myself. So I'm like, nah, go down, go. I'm listening too. So, everybody's getting value out of it.
I will say for anybody that wants to come on your show, like, this dude's he's a good podcaster. He's a good host. And there's a lot of podcasters out there that when they get you on, like, they also want to tell their story. Like, bro, you host the show. Listen, stop talking so much. But this dude here, he asks the question, he listens to the answer, and he doesn't cut you off. So if you want to know how to run a podcast, like, this is the dude. Like,
I appreciate it.
And it's all about the words. Like, you choose the right words, you ask the right questions, you're organized from the time that you contact me to the time that we get on the show. Like, everybody doesn't do that. So be the obvious choice. If this dude knows how to do a podcast, so I'm just going to put that out there for anybody that's going to come on your show who's listened and needs to compare to other podcasters. Like, there's some hater podcasters out there.
Yeah.
And you tell your backstory, and now, as I call them Sergeant Topics. They want to kind of try to tell theirs to outdo your story. You don't do that, and I appreciate that. But you're a confident dude, and, everybody doesn't have that.
No, I appreciate it. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, man.
So, again, going on with the theme of, you got Dom's content out there, but if you want to kind of get into the mind of Dom Faussette, I'm going to ask him, Dom, what is a quote, a poem, or a short passage, that you read or you reference from time to time that keeps your passion on fire?
It depends on how I feel throughout the day. Like, Today, I remember a time as a child when my dad said, don't let me down, boy. Like, your father says that, it's okay. And I was like 8. Let you down. I'm a trip. Like, something's gonna happen. I'm 8. But even as a 39-year-old man, like, I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my parents down. Like, I'm a Faussette. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's extremely important. Be the obvious choice is one of my go-tos.
I love it.
So think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead. And if you think about a successful executive and how they think, they strategize. But they don't strategize long. Like, they implement through team building. So thinking as an executive, they can't do it on their own. They have to have a team around them. React like a soldier. A soldier gets some orders or a mission. It's roger that.
Right.
Freaking move forward. And leadership is nothing but influence. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Make sure you're influencing every day your feet touch the ground and you get out of bed. And that's what I live by. And, like, I want my son to see something great out of me. And my wife is a boss, so, like, I don't need much. Like, I gotta make something happen every single day because she's at work. 10, 12-hour days. So there's a life I want, and being the obvious choice without being a jerk is how I'm going to get it. And don't get your feelings hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, I was brought up no emotions in business. It's business. My dad says bottom line's dollar sign. I mean, it's more than that. Because it's not 1982, and I can't just say that and leave that there.
Yeah.
But I'll lose followers. But, I mean, it's no emotions in business. Just, if somebody gets under your skin, that means you got some work to do.
Right.
You shouldn't really, like, you're not getting shot. Mm-hmm. I mean, things could be worse that happen. So be the obvious choice would be the thing I would leave your audience with. Whatever that looks like for you, be the obvious choice.
I love it. That's it. And that's straightforward. Like, what does that mean? Be the obvious choice. All right, how do I do that? If someone were to look at you, right,
Right.
They're not looking anywhere else.
Basically, once eye contact is made, like,
Yeah.
do you spend $300 on Jordans, or do you get some dress shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you trying to do? Like, how do you want to look? And this is the one thing, when you go out in public, always be ready. Again, be the obvious choice. If your spouse is doing what myself and the Marine are doing, you represent your spouse, male or female. You represent. Don't go outside looking a hot mess. If you know, and there's a, you know how you see somebody in the gym, or not in the gym, like in the grocery store that you might work with, and they're not dressed the way you normally see them dressed, and they try to ignore you. I'm a firm believer, when you step out the house is when your day begins. Like, that's when it's time to be the obvious choice. Because if you're a speaker, at the drop of a hat, somebody can see you in Target.
Yep.
Oh, you're a speaker? Oh, you present well. Dog, I've gotten picked up for engagements just being at Starbucks or at Target.
I believe it.
Because I carry myself with authority. I walk with purpose. The back of my heels hit the ground, the front of my feet hit afterwards. Like, you have to carry yourself with this superfluous amount of confidence. Sometimes it's fake because you're hurting inside, but be the obvious choice. Like, every day you walk out that front door is a battle, but you're going to win because you know what to do, and you're listening to the right podcast to make that happen. Not just this podcast, but the podcast and people that this young Marine brings on.
Man, we're at the last portion of the Pass the Torch podcast, one of my favorites. You've already given a ridiculous amount of value and just, said some amazing things. This is hard because we're at the time in our program where our guest has 1 minute to pass the torch, which you've literally been doing the entire time, Dom. And leave a legacy. We know that a mentor is a person who's achieved a level of success that we desire, and can effectively guide us to success as well. Based on the success, Dom, that you've achieved at this point in your life, if you could pass the torch and leave a legacy to someone in a similar situation or to your former self, how would you pass the torch in 1 hot minute?
I would pass the torch with love. I would, and I'm talking about my past self, I would give them the tools that they need, and it starts with love. Like, I've learned so much about loving, and I would tell him or her that it's okay to hurt. It's even better to acknowledge your hurt. Don't just jump into a business because you think it's going to validate you, because something's going to go wrong. And until you address your current or past issues, you can never move forward in the fervor that you're called to move forward in. And as you develop who you are, you slowly but surely begin to be the person that you want to be, but never stand still because of emotions. Because really, we're either moving backwards or we're moving forwards. There is no stagnation.
Wow. And there's Dom Faussette passing the torch of knowledge. Wow. If you have not followed Dom on Instagram, you need to follow him tonight. Right now, as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, you need to follow Dom. If you have not bought his book, Think, Lead, React, you need to do that. All right? And I'm going to make sure...
Think, React, Lead.
Think, React, Lead. Look at that. I'm even messing up the order. Think, React, Lead. Think, React, Lead. I'm going to actually buy a few copies, and I'm going to push that out to the first few people who are actually going to like his this podcast as well. So you're going to get a free copy. All you have to do is look at the content, like it, and then we're going to hook you up. Amazing content. Amazing man. You need to make sure you're following him and continuing the journey along with Dom. This has been Levante Santos and Dom Faussette on Pass the Torch podcast, reminding you to seek knowledge and pass the torch.
Hoorah.
Earth.